Have you ever found yourself glancing at someone quiet at a gathering of friends and thinking, what's their deal? Maybe they seem a bit odd, or perhaps you assume they just don't have much to say. It's easy to judge them at first glance, but sometimes the most profound stories often come from those who speak the least. Perhaps you are the person we're talking about. Are you that quiet observer who pauses when there's chaos around you, calmly reflecting while the world rushes by? Sometimes there's a true genius behind this quiet persona, someone who embodies Epictetus's wisdom. Listen twice as much as you speak. Nature gave us 2 ears and 1 mouth for a reason. Today, we're diving into 11 timeless Stoic lessons that will show you how to move in silence and let your actions carry the weight of your character. From mastering restraint to understanding the strength of quiet confidence, these lessons are more relevant now than ever before. Let's get straight to the point. This isn't about philosophy for the sake of philosophy. This is about mastering your life. It's about restraint, focus, and purpose, all through the power of silence. Lesson 1. Silence as strength. Silence isn't a weakness. In fact, it's the exact opposite. It's control. In a world where everyone feels the need to speak their mind or react to every little thing, being silent is a superpower. The Stoics believed this deeply. To be silent in the face of chaos is the highest form of strength. It's about mastering yourself, holding back when you could lash out, and letting your restraint speak louder than words ever could. Think about it. When you choose to be silent, especially in difficult moments, you're in control. You're not reacting out of emotion, impulse, or frustration. You're choosing to stay calm and grounded even when everything around you is chaotic. That's real power. When you stop reacting, you stop giving your energy away to things that don't deserve it. Imagine this. Someone insults you or disrespects you. The easy thing to do is fire back, defend yourself, argue. But in that moment, you're letting the other person control you. You're giving them the power. On the other hand, when you stay silent, you're not engaging in their game. You stay centered, unshaken, and the power stays with you. They don't get to pull you off balance. Think back to a time when someone said something that really got under your skin. Maybe it was a rude comment or criticism. The urge to defend yourself was probably strong, right? Now imagine instead of responding with frustration, you simply said nothing. You give a calm nod or a simple, okay. Suddenly the whole situation changes. That person doesn't know how to react to your calmness. Their power over you evaporates. Your silence makes their words meaningless. It reminds me of when I first started learning to keep quiet in difficult situations. At first, it felt strange, like I was holding back when I shouldn't. But over time, I realized that by staying silent, I wasn't backing down. I was choosing not to let others have control over my emotions. I was stronger for it. The thing about silence is it creates space. Space for reflection. Space for understanding. When we rush to speak, we often say things we don't mean, or express emotions that aren't fully formed. But when we wait, when we allow ourselves to be silent, we give ourselves a chance to think clearly, to act deliberately, and to make better decisions. This is what the Stoics practice: restraint, focus, and action that wasn't rushed by impulsive words. Too often, people confuse silence with weakness. They think if you're not talking, you're losing. But silence is about strength. It's about being confident enough in yourself that you don't need to prove anything with words. You let your actions do that for you. Just like Marcus Aurelius said, waste no more time arguing what a good person should be. Be one. Talking is easy. Anyone can do it. But staying silent, being thoughtful, and then acting when the time is right, that's rare. That's what sets you apart. Moving forward, I challenge you to think about how often you react to things with words, and how often those words actually serve you. The next time someone says something that would normally upset you, pause. Stay silent. Let their words pass over you like the wind. You'll notice that silence isn't a sign of weakness at all. It's a sign of true inner strength. Lesson 2. Observation over reaction. There's an old saying, a wise person listens more than they speak, and there's a reason why it's stuck around for so long. When you spend more time observing rather than reacting, you make better decisions, you avoid unnecessary conflict, and you stay in control. Reacting right away is easy. It's natural. But the Stoics knew that holding back, observing, and only acting when necessary is the path to wisdom. When you jump to respond to something without thinking, it's like throwing a rock into a calm pond. The ripple effect can be way bigger than you imagined. Whether it's an argument, a tough situation at work, or even a personal challenge, your initial reaction might just make things worse. That's why observing, stepping back, and thinking through your actions is so important. Take a second to breathe, gather your thoughts, and look at the situation from all angles. Often when you do this, you realize that your knee-jerk response would have been the wrong one. This is why silence and observation are such powerful tools. They give you the space to make a better, more intentional move. Marcus Aurelius taught that most of what happens in life is out of your control. You can't control other people, you can't control external events, but you can control how you respond to them. When you're quick to react, especially in anger or frustration, you're wasting energy on things you can't change. Instead, observe what's happening around you without feeling the need to jump in with a reaction. Imagine this. You're stuck in traffic. You could honk your horn, yell at the driver in front of you, and let the frustration build up. But none of that will clear the traffic. All it does is drain your energy and keep you focused on something you can't control. Now, what if instead you took a breath, accepted the situation for what it is, and observed your emotions? You'd likely find that the anger fades and you remain calm. This is the power of observing over reacting. When we think of observation, we often forget that it applies to our own emotions too. Have you ever noticed how sometimes your emotions seem to take control before you even realize it? You might snap at someone, feel anxious about a situation, or let fear keep you from acting. But what if instead of reacting, you simply observed? When you take the time to notice your emotions, label them, and sit with them, you put space between you and your reactions. Let's say you're feeling anger. Instead of instantly lashing out, try to recognize it. Okay, I'm angry right now. Just that simple act of noticing can help you slow down and choose a response that's more thoughtful. The Stoics believed that mastering your emotions is one of the keys to mastering life. By observing how you feel before you act, you start to live more intentionally. You're not a puppet being pulled by emotions. You're in control. And this control helps you navigate life with more wisdom and peace. Lesson 3. Actions speak louder than words. You've probably heard the phrase actions speak louder than words countless times, but it still holds strong because it's true. Talk is cheap, and anyone can say anything. But your actions, they reveal your true character. Epictetus, a Stoic philosopher, believed that it's not what we say that defines us, but what we do. You can promise the world, but if you don't follow through, those promises mean nothing. People judge us based on our deeds, not our words. Think about it for a second. How many times have you met someone who talks a big game but never seems to deliver? Maybe they promised to help you out or said they'd change, but nothing ever comes of it. That's why, in Stoicism, actions are what really matter. It's easy to say the right things, especially when you're trying to impress someone. But words alone don't build trust. Trust is built by consistently showing up and following through. Marcus Aurelius, the famous Roman emperor, lived by the principle that you should act with honor, no matter who's watching. It's easy to say you'll be honest, kind, or hardworking when people are around. But what about when no one's looking? That's where your true character is revealed. The Stoics taught that it's not enough to talk about being a good person. You have to live it out through your actions every day. Epictetus reminded us that we're defined by what we do, not what we say. He believed that every action, no matter how small, builds or breaks our character. So, if you want to be a person of strong character, focus on doing what's right rather than talking about it. Let's be real. How many times have you heard someone say they're going to change, but they keep falling back into old habits? Maybe they promise they'll start going to the gym, eat healthier, or work on their temper. But a week later, nothing's changed. It's because words are easy. It's easy to say you'll do something, but the real challenge is following through. That's why Stoicism places such a heavy emphasis on deeds. When people see that your actions align with your words, they know they can trust you. It's the consistency between what you say and what you do that earns respect. If your words don't match your actions, it creates confusion, mistrust, and disappointment. This is why Stoics like Epictetus taught that it's far better to remain silent and act with integrity than to make promises you can't or won't keep. We also have to consider that people often get attached to words, especially when they agree with what's being said. When someone says what you want to hear, it's easy to overlook whether they're actually backing it up with actions. This is where emotional bias comes in. You might give someone the benefit of the doubt just because their words resonate with you, but sooner or later their actions will reveal the truth. It's important to be mindful of this when dealing with people in your life. Someone might tell you everything you want to hear, but pay attention to what they're actually doing. As the saying goes, when someone shows you who they are, believe them. In other words, people will reveal their true selves through their actions over time. Words can mislead, but actions rarely lie. The Stoics believed that you should live your life in a way that matches your principles. If you say you value kindness, show it through your actions. If you say you believe in hard work, prove it through your dedication. It's not about perfection. It's about striving to live in a way that's true to your values. And when you do this consistently, people will notice. You won't have to tell them who you are because your actions will speak for you. Lesson 4. Consistency and behavior. Being consistent is one of the most powerful habits you can develop. It's like building a reputation, not by saying you'll do something, but by showing it every single day. In Stoicism, consistency matters more than grand plans or promises. It's not about what you say you'll do next week or how you plan to change someday. It's about what you're doing right now, today, and every day after that. Think of it this way. Consistency is like planting seeds. You don't see results overnight, but if you water those seeds every day, give them sunlight and patiently care for them, they will eventually grow into something incredible. On the other hand, if you plant seeds but forget to water them, or only check in on them every once in a while, nothing will grow. That's why being consistent is so crucial. It builds trust with others and with yourself. When you stick to your habits, people start to trust that you will show up and follow through. They begin to count on you. And more importantly, you start to trust yourself. Every time you do what you say you'll do, you're proving to yourself that you are reliable. This self-trust is vital for confidence. It builds over time through small, everyday actions. And once you have it, it becomes a solid foundation for everything else in life. Epictetus believed in living by principles rather than promises. He would say that it's easy to make a big, flashy promise, but much harder to live out that promise day after day. You don't have to tell everyone your plans or goals. Just keep showing up and doing the work. Consistency isn't always glamorous. It's about doing what you need to do even when you don't feel like it. Some days you'll be tired, distracted, or unmotivated. But discipline is about pushing through those moments. And that's where real growth happens. Being consistent builds habits, and once you've got those habits, discipline becomes second nature. It's no longer about relying on bursts of motivation. It's about sticking to your routine no matter what. There are going to be times when you don't want to show up. Maybe you're starting to get bored with your routine or feeling frustrated that you're not seeing results fast enough. But this is exactly where consistency matters most. It's easy to be motivated at the beginning, but real progress comes when you keep pushing through even when things get tough. The Stoic mindset reminds us that we can't control the results, but we can control the effort we put in daily. And that's where true power lies. Building consistency doesn't have to be overwhelming. You don't need to take on everything at once or aim for perfection. Instead, start small. Focus on doing one thing consistently, whether it's going for a walk every morning, practicing gratitude, or setting aside 10 minutes to reflect at the end of each day. Once you've built that habit, it becomes easier to add more. The more consistent you are, the more disciplined you become, and over time, this becomes a lifestyle that helps you get closer to your goals. In the end, consistency is what separates people who achieve their dreams from those who don't. It's not about being the most talented or the smartest. It's about showing up day after day and putting in the work. Anyone can be intense for a moment, but real success comes from being consistent. Keep pushing, and eventually, you'll see the results of all the seeds you've been planting. Lesson 5. The quiet confidence of action. Confidence isn't about being loud or showing off. It's about what you do, not what you say. When you see someone who's really confident, they don't have to brag about their abilities or shout about their accomplishments. Instead, they let their actions do the talking. This kind of quiet confidence is powerful. It doesn't need attention because it's already rooted in a deep belief in one's own abilities. Think about someone who just moves silently, handling their business without making a fuss. That's the type of confidence Stoicism teaches. It's not about announcing your every move to the world. It's about showing up and doing the work, day in and day out, without needing validation. Those who walk this path know that the results will speak for themselves. Quiet confidence comes from experience, from going through tough times and learning from them. It's built over time, not in a single moment. People who have faced challenges and come out stronger have a certain calmness about them. They've been dragged through the mud, as the saying goes, and now they don't feel the need to prove anything to anyone. They've already proven it to themselves. For example, imagine someone who's gone through a rough patch in life, like a breakup or losing a job. At first, it might feel like the world is against them, but over time, they rebuild themselves. They learn what really matters, and they stop needing outside approval. That's the kind of confidence that doesn't waver. It's not loud or flashy. It's solid and unshakable. This kind of confidence also allows you to make decisions without getting swept away by emotions. It doesn't mean you're emotionless, but it means you've learned to control your reactions. When you face tough choices, you don't panic or let fear take over. Instead, you calmly weigh the options and make the best decision based on logic and experience. The more you do this, the stronger your confidence becomes because you trust yourself to handle whatever life throws at you. But being quietly confident doesn't mean you shut people out or stop sharing your feelings altogether. It just means you're selective about who you open up to. Not everyone deserves to hear your deepest thoughts and emotions. Stoicism teaches us to be strategic with our energy, and that includes who we share ourselves with. Some people can handle the weight of your stories while others can't, and that's okay. It's about recognizing who's truly worthy of your trust. In relationships, this quiet confidence can also help you build deeper connections. When you're not constantly seeking validation or approval, people are naturally drawn to your strength. You don't have to push yourself into their lives. You move confidently, and the right people will gravitate towards you. They'll recognize your value, not because you're shouting about it, but because they can feel it in how you carry yourself. Ultimately, confidence isn't about being loud or making sure everyone knows how great you are. It's about showing up, doing the work, and letting your actions speak louder than words. Keep moving forward, quietly and confidently, and the results will follow. You don't need to shout to prove your worth. Your steady actions will say everything for you. Lesson 6. Focus on what's within your control. It's easy to get caught up in things that are out of our hands, other people's opinions, random events, or even how things will turn out in the future. But according to Stoicism, the only thing you truly have control over is your own actions. Everything else, just background noise. Your actions, choices, and how you react to things are fully within your control. This is where your real power lies. Instead of worrying about what other people think or whether things will go your way, focus on what you can do. The noise around you starts to fade away because you're too busy concentrating on what's really important, your own actions and decisions. For example, let's say you're working hard on a project and someone criticizes you. You can't control what they say, but you can control how you respond. Do you get upset and let it ruin your day? Or do you stay calm and keep working? knowing that their opinion doesn't change your effort or the value of what you're doing. When you focus on your actions, you put yourself in a position of power. You're not at the mercy of others or random events. You decide how to move forward. It's not always easy to figure out what's in your control and what isn't. Sometimes the line can get blurry, especially when emotions are involved. But here's a simple way to think about it. If it's something you can directly change with your actions or decisions, it's within your control. If it's something that depends on others, on external events, or the universe at large, then it's not. Once you realize this, you'll find yourself wasting less energy on things that don't really matter. Let's talk about more complex situations like dealing with personal challenges or health issues. What if you're facing something like chronic fatigue or anxiety? It might feel like you have no control at all, but even in these situations, there's always something you can do. You can't control the condition itself, but you can control how you manage it. You can decide to seek help, adopt healthier habits, or find ways to cope. It's about focusing on the small actions you can take, even when the bigger picture feels overwhelming. This principle also protects you from falling into passivity. Stoicism isn't about just accepting everything and giving up. It's about being active where you can make a difference. Sometimes, people think Stoicism teaches you to just let things happen, but that's not the case. It's about taking action where you have control and letting go of things that are out of your hands. If you find yourself getting passive, it's a good time to reassess. Ask yourself, what can I do right now to improve the situation? That's where your energy should go. Epictetus once said, "We cannot choose our external circumstances, but we can always choose how we respond to them." This sums up the Stoic approach perfectly. You may not have control over the challenges you face, but you always have control over how you respond. And the more you practice this, the better you'll get at focusing on what really matters, your own actions. Lesson 7. Ignore the praise and criticism. The Stoics teach us a crucial lesson. Don't get carried away by praise, and don't crumble under criticism. It's easy to let these external opinions influence how we feel about ourselves, but at the end of the day, they don't define us. What truly matters is our actions and character, not the temporary approval or disapproval of others. We all love the feeling of being praised, right? It gives us a rush, like we finally made it or proved ourselves. But here's the thing. Praise is just as fleeting as criticism. It feels good at the moment, but it doesn't make us better or more valuable. What happens when that praise disappears? If we rely on it too much, we end up feeling lost when the applause fades. The same goes for criticism. Yeah, it stings. But Stoicism teaches us that just like praise, criticism is merely someone's opinion, not an ultimate truth. If we let it break us, we're giving other people control over our emotions. When you focus on your actions, your values, and what's in your control, neither praise nor criticism has the power to sway you. Think of praise and criticism like the wind. The wind blows in different directions, but does it really change who you are? Not at all. It's just passing through, here one moment and gone the next. What stays with you is your commitment to live according to your values. That's the real you. When we let ourselves get caught up in praise, we start to feel like we're better than others. We get stuck in a comparison trap thinking, I'm faster, smarter, or more successful, so I'm superior. But Stoicism reminds us that everyone has their own journey, shaped by their circumstances, family, resources, environment, and even luck. When you really think about it, comparing yourself to others is pretty pointless. Everyone is different and no one's success or failure defines them. So what's the Stoic way of dealing with praise and criticism? Accept it gracefully, but don't let it stick. If someone compliments you, thank them and move on. If someone criticizes you, take what's useful from their words and discard the rest. Either way, your sense of self shouldn't be tied to what others think of you. You are not the sum of their opinions. You are the sum of your actions and intentions. Here's another powerful truth the Stoics remind us of. Everything is temporary. Praise today, criticism tomorrow. It all changes. One day you might be praised for your skills, but what if the standards change or you can't perform the way you once did? Or what if the people who praised you now have different opinions? Relying on external validation is like building a house on shifting sand. Instead, keep your focus on what you can control: your effort, your mindset, your principles. When you live with integrity and focus on what truly matters, praise and criticism lose their hold on you. You become resilient, unshaken by the opinions of others, because you know who you are and what you stand for. In short, don't live for applause, and don't be crushed by rejection. Just like the Stoics taught, remember that both are fleeting. What defines you are your actions, not the opinions of others. Let the wind blow, but keep walking your path. Lesson 8. Patience as a silent virtue. Patience is more than just waiting around. It's about holding a quiet strength inside. It's like having the ability to sit in stillness while everything around you is moving at full speed. This kind of patience allows you to make better decisions and take meaningful action when the time is right. The Stoics viewed patience not as something passive, but as an active force, a silent resilience. When you're patient, you're not just holding back. You're preparing yourself for the right moment to act. Imagine a tree growing in the middle of a forest. It doesn't rush, doesn't force its branches to stretch out faster than they can. It simply grows, inch by inch, day by day. You don't hear it groaning or pushing. It silently rises toward the sky, its roots deepening into the earth. That's what patience looks like. It's steady, quiet, and unshakable. Even though you don't see it moving every second, it's constantly growing, becoming stronger. In life, we often face situations where we want immediate results. Whether it's in relationships, careers, or personal goals, the desire for quick fixes can be overwhelming. But quick solutions rarely bring lasting results. The Stoics remind us that patience is key to making decisions that actually matter. It's about resisting the urge to react too quickly out of frustration or fear. Instead, it's waiting for the right moment, and when it comes, acting with purpose. Patience also teaches us to control our emotions. How many times have you acted out of anger or frustration, only to regret it later? By practicing patience, we can learn to stay calm and let the initial wave of emotion pass. This is where patience becomes strength. It gives you the space to breathe, think, and respond wisely. It's like pressing pause in the chaos and allowing yourself to gain clarity before moving forward. It's important to remember that patience isn't just for the big moments in life either. It's the little everyday instances where we can practice this virtue. Whether it's waiting for an opportunity at work, dealing with a frustrating person, or simply managing your own growth, patience helps us handle these situations with grace. The Stoics knew that true power comes not from rushing, but from knowing when to act and when to wait. When you think of patience, think of it as your inner superpower. It's what keeps you grounded when life gets crazy. You can't always control how fast things happen, but you can control how you react to them. By embracing patience, you're making sure that when you do act, it's thoughtful, intentional, and aligned with your values. Lesson 9. Discipline in every small action. Discipline is the backbone of success. It's not just about those big, flashy moments where everything comes together. It's the small, consistent actions you take every day that really count. In Stoicism, discipline is all about stacking small victories one after the other, until they become the foundation for something greater. It's not about grand gestures, but about silent, determined actions that build up over time. Think of the daily routines we often overlook, like getting up early, completing your tasks on time, or even something as simple as making your bed. These aren't just chores. They're little steps toward a bigger goal. Each time you do something with discipline, you're proving to yourself that you can stick with it no matter how small it seems. This quiet form of discipline is what Stoicism teaches us to value. It's about showing up for yourself every day, even when no one's watching. The connection between silence and discipline is strong. Just like how silence gives us space to think, discipline gives us the structure to grow. It's the ability to keep pushing forward, even when the results aren't immediately visible. Stoics understood that life isn't always about chasing after the next big thing or seeking immediate rewards. Sometimes it's about embracing the daily grind and trusting that these small efforts will lead to bigger accomplishments. Success isn't built overnight, and it's certainly not handed to you on a silver platter. It's earned through those small, disciplined actions you take every day. The Stoics believed that every action, no matter how small, adds up. Whether it's choosing to exercise, eat healthy, study a little more, or even just being kind to others, each choice matters. Over time, these small victories compound, and before you know it, you've built a solid foundation for success. Let's be real though, discipline isn't always easy. There are days when you don't feel like doing the work or sticking to your routine, but that's where Stoic philosophy shines. It teaches us that even when we don't feel like it, we must show up anyway. Discipline isn't about doing things when it's convenient. It's about doing them because they matter. And with each action, you get a little stronger, a little more in control of your life. By practicing discipline in these small actions, you're preparing yourself for bigger challenges down the road. It's like training for a marathon by running a little bit every day. You don't just wake up one morning and run 26 miles. You build up to it step by step, day by day. Discipline in small actions gives you the strength to tackle the bigger things when the time comes. So, what do you think about seeking peace of mind through disciplining yourself? If you read or practice Stoicism, how has it helped you in life, especially with self-discipline? Share your thoughts in the comments below, and let's help each other learn and grow through your insights. Lesson 10. Find peace in the silence. Stoicism teaches us that real peace doesn't come from noise or distractions, but from moments of quiet reflection. When we practice silence, we're not just shutting out the world, we're creating space to find clarity and calm within ourselves. In a world that's constantly busy, filled with notifications and interruptions, finding peace in silence is a skill worth mastering. When you're silent, you're giving yourself the chance to stop reacting to everything around you. Instead of jumping from one problem to the next, you create a moment to breathe, to think, and to choose how you want to move forward. This is where the true power of Stoic peace comes in. It's in the stillness where you can reflect on what matters and let go of what doesn't. Take time each day for silence, and you'll notice how your mind starts to settle. The racing thoughts, the worries, and the stress start to fade. When you allow yourself even just a few moments of quiet, this stillness brings clarity, helping you see things as they truly are, without the noise and distractions clouding your judgment. You realize that so much of what you worry about isn't within your control, and you can finally let it go. In those moments of silence, you're not running from your problems. Instead, you're facing them in a calm, collected way. The Stoics believed that silence and reflection give you the strength to handle life's challenges without being overwhelmed. It's like hitting the reset button. When the world feels chaotic, stepping into silence helps you regain control and focus on what truly matters. Peace through silence is not about avoiding emotions or pretending that everything is fine. Stoicism recognizes that emotions are a natural part of being human, but instead of letting them control you, Stoicism teaches you to observe them from a place of calm. You can ask yourself, is this something I can control? And if not, you can release it. Silence helps you find balance, even when life feels out of control. The quiet moments are when you remind yourself that not everything deserves a reaction, and that inner peace is something you can cultivate, even in the midst of chaos. If you make a habit of practicing silence, you'll discover how much more grounded you feel. Instead of reacting to every little thing, you can choose your responses thoughtfully. This practice builds resilience over time. You become less affected by external events and more in tune with your own inner strength. In the end, that's what Stoicism is all about, finding peace within yourself no matter what's happening around you. So, how can you bring more silence into your life? It doesn't have to be complicated. Set aside just a few minutes each day to be still. Turn off your phone, step away from distractions, and just sit quietly. As you do this, notice how your thoughts start to slow down. Notice the peace that comes from simply being present, without trying to fix or change anything. The Stoics understood that peace is something you work towards, not something that magically appears. It's a daily practice of choosing silence, reflection, and self-control. Lesson 11. Humility in action. Humility is one of the most powerful yet silent forms of strength. Stoicism teaches that true humility doesn't make a show of itself. It doesn't need to announce its presence. Instead, it simply acts, without the need for recognition or applause. There's power and grace in that kind of quiet strength. In today's world, it's easy to get caught up in wanting praise and validation. Social media, work, and even daily interactions can make us feel like we need to prove our worth. But true humility steps away from that. It's about understanding that we are not the center of the universe, and that our value doesn't come from how many people notice or praise us. It comes from the actions we take, especially when no one is watching. When you do something good, like helping someone, and you don't look for a thank you or expect anything in return, that's real humility in action. It's a silent kind of power that shows you're doing things for the right reasons, not because you want to be seen a certain way. That's where Stoicism shines. It teaches us that doing good should come naturally, like how a tree grows fruit without thinking about who's going to eat it. We should do what's right simply because it's the right thing to do. Humility, however, isn't just about being modest. It's about knowing your place in the bigger picture. The Stoics often reminded themselves that no matter how successful or powerful they became, they were just one small part of the world. Marcus Aurelius wrote about how even great leaders like Alexander the Great met the same fate as everyone else. They lived, they died, and they returned to the earth just like the rest of us. The world moves on, with or without us. This idea might sound harsh at first. It's tough to accept that in the grand scheme of things we're not as special as we think, but that's where the beauty of humility lies. When we stop thinking that everything revolves around us, we free ourselves from the pressure of always having to prove something. Instead of focusing on ourselves, we can turn our attention to others, to help, to learn, and to grow. Humility also opens the door to wisdom. When we realize we don't know everything, we become more open to learning from others. Everyone has something they can teach us, whether it's through their struggles, their successes, or their perspective on life. Humble people listen more than they speak, because they know there's always room to grow. They don't see themselves as better than anyone else. They see themselves as equals, navigating the same life journey. Now, humility doesn't mean thinking less of yourself. It's not about putting yourself down or believing you're not good enough. Instead, it's about having an honest view of yourself and your place in the world. You are important to the people around you, but you are also just one part of a much bigger picture. And that's okay. In fact, it's freeing. When you practice humility, you're letting go of the need to be the best, or to always be right. You're choosing peace over pride. You're saying, I don't need to be the center of attention to know my worth. This mindset is not only empowering, but it also makes you more compassionate and understanding toward others. You're no longer competing with them. You're just living alongside them. So how can you start practicing humility? Here's a challenge. For the next 7 days, remind yourself each morning that you're not the center of the universe. Say to yourself, I'm just one piece of the puzzle, and that's okay. See if it changes how you view others. Maybe you'll find yourself judging less. Or maybe you'll notice that you're more patient with people. Track how many times you catch yourself needing to remember this idea. You might be surprised by the results. Humility is a quiet strength, one that doesn't need to shout to make an impact. When you let go of your ego, you'll find that there's a lot more room for growth, learning, and peace. After all, true strength doesn't need to be loud. It just needs to be steady. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed these lessons, check out our next video, 10 Stoic Principles so that nothing can affect you. Click the video and keep growing with us.